I've had some contenders giving it big revs next to me, and I've beat them off the line, and that's during the morning commute from the roundabouts. So
driving
you
responsibly though as well, Gary. Of course,
I stick to the speed limits.
good man. That's what we want to hear.
The Tesla Model 3 was the best-selling EV of 2021, which means if you're watching this, there's probably a similarly decent chance that you're thinking about picking one up. And so for the first time, I think, ever in Is It Fast history, we're actually going to try and give you some consumer advice. So to that end, we have brought onto the show today someone who's actually gone through the process of picking, speccing, purchasing and getting a Tesla 3 delivered. So we thought we'd bring onto the show our good friend, Gary. So, welcome. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, Stuart. Yeah, how are you? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, you're very, very welcome.
Delighted to have you, mate.
It is a pleasure. Normally we just talk about the cars, don't we, Stu? But today...
Yeah, this is a strange new world for us. Actually having some knowledge, we just normally go, oh, that's a pretty picture of a car. Yeah, looks nice. But we've got somebody here who actually has the Tesla Model 3.
So, Gary, what we're going to do is we're going to pick your brains and, if you'll allow us to, share the process that took you from decision-making, speccing, statting, delivery, and basically how you found it. Because I think Tesla as a brand and as a vehicle choice is still quite new to a lot of people. Going out and ordering a Renault or something like that is relatively standard process. But making the jump from dinosaur juice-powered cars across to EVs, but then also, let's be honest, a premium brand that is Tesla, can be a little bit nerve-wracking. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to embarrass everyone. First of all, I'm going to show everyone what you've purchased. So this is the car in question. It is real. This is proper journalism at this stage. Tell us what you had before, and then your process through to actually I'm going to jump to Tesla.
So I've had this now for about 1,600 miles, and it's been washed 0 times. So letting myself down there. Previously, I had a Ford Mustang V8, 420 horsepower. And it sounded absolutely phenomenal. So it's been a little bit of a culture shift.
Yeah, I knew that answer was coming, but it's still phenomenal. You've gone from burning gas to saving the planet's ass. It's absolutely striking.
Gone from used dinosaurs and trees to plug it in at the wall. So it's quite a different beast to drive, and quite a cultural shift for me as well.
So what encouraged this shift from obviously something as big, powerful muscle car like the Mustang, potentially burning a lot of fuel, through to the Tesla that you got now?
Yeah, so I got the Mustang about 6 years ago. And at the time, my daily commute was less than 10 miles. So 25 miles to the gallon at a push, I wasn't bothered around. Now, though, I'm a 100-mile commute to work. I did have to go out and buy a second car, a diesel runaround. That got 55 miles to the gallon because my wallet was just feeling too much of an impact, especially sticking 100 miles a day on a bright orange Mustang was not subtle or clever. So it was mostly driven by wallet, basically. I got a We Buy Any Car quote for Mustang because I was bored one night, decided if those 6-second adverts were the true thing. So they gave me a quote, and to be honest, my jaw hit the floor for the Mustang. I did not realise the second-hand market would give me that much money for a 6-year-old Mustang. And then the funds went towards the new toy, so the Tesla Model 3. Being down in England now, I do make regular trips back to Scotland as well. So we decided to go for the long-range version. So a little bit more battery power there. So it'll do me, in real life, 280 miles between charges. So given that Edinburgh's, about 300 miles away roughly from where I am, it'll pretty much get there with just one lunch break, shall we say, where you throw it into a charger and then you're sorted, really.
That's incredible. I mean,
it really is.
First of all, the second-hand car market, it's gone mental. The real life range is quite interesting. So did you order your 3 from new?
Yeah, brand new.
Okay.
So I think there's maybe 3 or 4 ways that I could have done it. Buy it outright, or go for, pay in cash, get a bank loan, lease it, hire purchase, all these kind of options.
Yeah.
So in the end, I was actually worked out cheaper leasing it.
Yeah. Okay.
So I didn't want the depreciation on my hands as well. So I was quite
Yeah.
happy with the figure I was given for that. And given that I just sold the Mustang for a jaw-dropping amount of money, it's wiping its own nose basically. So yeah, I was quite happy with that.
Okay.
The whole buying process was really quite simple as well. It was mostly quick comparisons online, and then a few phone calls, play them off one another for a little bit, give them a silent treatment for a week or two, and
Play hard
before
to
you
get.
know it,
Love it.
that's you know how that is, Stuart. And they then come back to you, countering each other, and then you just pull the trigger. So yeah, it's just really quite a painless process for ordering.
Looking into the EV market, were there any other cars you explored as part of this, or was it Tesla all the way? I'm not going to deviate. This is what I'm wanting.
Yeah, I did do a little bit of research. There's some good cars at a good price point with Volkswagen just now, the ID3. That was up there. I did take that for a spin, a test drive, and also the Golf as well. But that didn't have the range I needed. And most of the other cars as well, because I was looking for something that could get me 100 miles a day comfortably to and from work, and also do a trek up to Edinburgh in only one stop. And that really did limit the cars that I could look into realistically. There were things like Audis and whatnot as well, but they're sort of more the SUV types, and personally I just wasn't interested in an SUV family car. We've got the other, my wife's car for that. So this was my toy really.
And so from my perspective, so I'm not a reluctant EV consumer. Okay, I just don't have one. But being a performance car guy, quite interested to understand the dynamic shift between a V8 Mustang, which, to be fair, by the time they've come here, quite a dynamically able car, not the Mustangs of the past where it kind of saw a corner and basically just completely died off and didn't fancy it.
Found a dead ship.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. What's it been like going from a V8 Mustang with hundreds of horsepower to the 3, which has its own dynamic ability, right?
Yeah, the muscle car really did live up to its name. It was pure sound, pure driving sensation is the only way I can describe it. Stuart, you've had a lift in it before, and it just absolutely rattles your eardrums. The kick between gears as well is manual.
Definitely good after a night out. Cheers for that, Gary.
Yeah.
Are you finding you're getting a similar thrill out of driving? Because you've not gone for the bare bones basic 3. You've gone for something pretty decent. So are you finding either the enjoyment is still there, or it's a different type of enjoyment when you're driving it, not the commute? Because commutes are boring mostly.
Yeah.
But are you finding that when you do take it for a bit of a jolly, you can actually get a jolly out of it?
Yeah, I mean, performance-wise, it's actually quicker than the Mustang, 0 to 60.
There you go.
So the acceleration is still there. Because it's just electronic motors as well, it is just pure power. There's no gear changes, there's no lag between gears. It is literally point and shoot. You just floor it and off you go. I've had some contenders giving it big revs next to me, and I've beat them off the line, and that's during the morning commute from the roundabouts. So
driving
you
responsibly though as well, Gary. Of course.
I stick to the speed limits.
Good man. That's what we want to hear.
Yeah, so the performance is still there. You've still got the acceleration. The only thing that's missing is the pure V8 noise now for me.
Okay.
That assault on the senses, but you still get the kick from the acceleration.
Interesting.
So how are you finding it so far then? Like we've obviously spoke about great acceleration. What's the comfort like for it? How are you finding charging it at night? Is there an issue with you charging it at your work, for example?
Yeah, so comfort-wise, Very nice, very clever. The tech, seats are very comfy. I've not been in the back yet, but there's plenty of room. Being an electronic vehicle, you don't have the transmission tunnel as well, so you've got a complete flat floor in the back, so that makes it easier to carry passengers. I have given a lift home to some of my wife's drunken friends one night. They had no complaints in the back. They were nice and asleep by the time I got them home, which was all good. Charging wise, right now I've not actually invested in a home charger, the wall box. I will be doing that. Still, after government grants and things, that'll be about 500-600 quid installed perhaps. So right now I'm just using the granny charger when I need to. So that's your 10 amp normal plug-in charger. That'll give me 10 miles range for every hour it's into the wall at home. And I just pop that through the letterbox literally on an extension cable and charge that.
It's a bit ratchet though, isn't it?
It is that, but needs must. If you need a little boost, that'll do the job. But mostly I'm fortunate enough that I can charge it at work for free.
Right.
So for me, that's an absolute massive saving.
Of course it is, yeah.
And again, that came into the costs of it. You know, I've pretty much got free mileage right now. Charge it at work. Some of your local supermarkets as well do free charging. Tesco's near me, for example, not to name drop anyone in particular.
Other supermarkets are available.
Yeah, they are, exactly that. Yeah, they offer free charging as well, and that's a sort of a charge rate about 25 miles for every hour that you're plugged in. So charge wise, it's not too bad. To be fair, I've not had any range anxiety yet. I've always managed to get where I've gone with a good 50 miles left of battery. And then being a Tesla as well, part of the big decision on buying it was the availability of the supercharger network. So that'll charge you from, you know, almost empty to 80% in 30 minutes. By the time you nip in, you get an overpriced motorway Burger King, nip to the toilet and stuff. Your car is pretty much ready to go.
Now, internally, I've got to ask this. I love my gadgets. Is that big screen not distracting? Are you sitting there watching like the latest films on it while you're driving? Is that possible?
I've not tried films on it yet, but there are quite a few toys. I've actually just gone out and bought a USB controller that I can plug into the car when I discovered it had Sonic the Hedgehog. So I've not tried that yet, but I'll be giving that a go. And one day I will fess up. I decided to take it through McDonald's drive-through, sit in the car park and just have a muck around with the options. Quick game of solitaire. That was quite nice. And then there's another one which I'll maybe treat you to next time, which you can make your own music, compose your own dance tunes and things if you wanted. So
I don't
Calvin
think you want
Harris,
that for me. Yeah.
watch this space, yeah.
Oh, that's absolutely brilliant. It looks fantastic on the inside. Now, thanks very much for sharing these pictures with us as well. Gary, a quick question I do have to ask. What are the rear parking sensors like?
They take some getting used to.
Okay.
Pray tell.
Yes, I think day 3 of ownership, I was reversing into a tight space, and let's just say the wall was not where I was expecting it. The parking sensors saw round the wall, the corner of the wall.
Nightmare.
Next thing I knew, I was coming to an abrupt halt.
Oh.
Minimal
I can't
damage.
believe I believe it was actually your wife driving that day. That's why I heard.
That's what. Yes, it was definitely her driving, not me at all in the slightest. Crashing my 3-day-old car.
Oh well.
So that's all fixed now. That's the good
just
news.
painful. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That
Wasn't as bad as I was expecting.
That's savage, to be fair. Because autonomous driving, I know is not a thing yet, right? But what level of autonomy have you got with it, if you know, and B, if it does come with any kind of support, I mean, based on the rear parking sensors, I don't know if I'd trust it or actually trust it, but have you had a play around with that yet? Is what could a purchaser kind of expect in the UK with Tesla, in inverted commas, driving itself?
Yeah, so the self-drive, as you probably know, is not legal yet in the UK. So that's the fully autonomous. And from my personal point of view, thank goodness.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of decisions being taken out of the human's control. Tesla do give you the option when you buy the car to spec it with the full self-drive capability. And that can offer you some neat tricks, like you could come out of your hotel or the airport, wherever, press a button and the car will come to you. For me, that personally is a little bit gimmicky. Goodness knows what condition it'll arrive in. But also my experience is that that's not really worth the money. The full drive spec, it's not cheap to add it as an option. From memory, it was about $4 or $5 that Tesla were after, which is a pretty eye-watering sum of money for something that's not legal yet in the UK, as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And all it is literally is just a software option at the unlock. It's just a signal they send to the car, and next thing you know, you've got it. You can add it on as a optional extra as well, but for me, it's not something I was interested in. I'm quite happy with the normal cruise control. It comes with a standard, and it has the lane keep assist and things as well. So for me, I use that every day on the motorway journey. That's intuitive enough. It keeps a distance from the car in front, as you'd expect from all modern vehicles these days. Self-driving in terms that the car will slow you down as well. So if you're approaching a roundabout at the end of a motorway, for example, and the car in front of you starts to slow down, then the Tesla will come to a halt as well, one car length from the vehicle in front. And then, as I found out without expecting it, because I was sleeping a little bit, the car will then accelerate you away from the green light as well without you touching anything.
Oh, wow, okay.
So I did have a panicky moment one day. I was like, hang on a minute. But then I realised this is the car accelerating me away up to speed.
It's quite interesting. I mean, in terms of kind of autonomous driving, or being able to drive it or itself drive to your kind of front door, until it gets to the point where I can drive it like the 7 Series from Tomorrow Never Dies, where I can just flip open my Ericsson or whatever it was and use a touchpad to drive my Tesla 3 to me, or around an NCP car park, then I'm not really that interested. It's interesting though, as a general concept. I don't know why you would spec the self-drive option based on that.
That's it for me. It's just a bit of a cash grab from Mr. Musk.
Yeah,
I think so.
He's appealing to the techies out there. They want the latest and greatest, but I think for your average user, it's some years away yet before the full self-driving's legal. So by that point, you're probably onto your next car anyway. So what's the point in specking it this time round?
No, that makes sense.
Very good point. I do know another Tesla user, and I believe that one time during the a football away day last winter, coming out of the stadium up at Ross County, all the other cars had frozen over because it's just that bitterly cold up there. But he was able to control the Tesla on his app, preheat the seats for him and his friend going back down the roads, basically cleared the car, and he was off while everyone else was too busy scraping their card with whatever bit of plastic they could find in their wallet. What a fantastic feature that is. I was going to say, I hope you get to use that during this winter, but also I hope you don't have to use that during this winter.
Yeah, well, it was -5 this morning when I went out. But to be honest, by the time I got there, the car was nice and toasty, 21 degrees inside, windscreen clear. Absolutely brilliant. To be fair to Tesla, it comes with a good app that you can install on your phone. And once you've synced that to the car, you get a little credit card that is your car key. The very first time you go into the car, you sit down, you tap that in a certain location, the key, and then it syncs to your phone. And then, you can control your heating and things from the app. You can schedule it so every morning, 20 minutes before you're due to leave the house, your car will wake up, defrost itself, steering wheel will be nice and heated up for you, seats heated.
That's brilliant.
It is good, yeah. So in the winter, those things are very handy. Yeah, I use that every day now.
Interesting. I mean, it's good that so from my perspective, I mean, you can do that on Volvos and Beamers and all that kind of stuff, but I'm not trying to poo-poo the Tesla. What I'm actually doing is putting it back up on a pedestal to a degree. It would almost be easy for a car manufacturer that is relatively new to the game to forgo those little details, because every other car manufacturer has spent the last however many 100 years getting the car making thing second nature, and then they can start to concentrate I suppose what we might call UX. Okay, how does a driver interact with a car? What does a driver need when it needs to warm up half an hour beforehand? It'd be very easy for Tesla to go, it sings, it dances, and it's electric. Yeah, I need to warm it up half an hour before I get into it. Oh yeah, we forgot about that. So it's quite it's quite good that it does that. You kind of, I think Tesla as a car brand sometimes gets shrouded in a kind of, it's just for the nerds or the technologists or for someone that's trying to go green or they're chasing a brand or they don't, all these kind of different things. There's a lot of naysayers with a lot of new things, but actually no, they are a usable car. If you just need a car, for the love of God, it is a car, which is quite good. It's quite refreshing to hear, really, that as someone who didn't buy it because it's a Tesla, but you needed something to do a job, that it actually does a job. It's quite interesting. You can see why they're selling 100,000 of them in Europe last year. So that's or across Europe, I should say.
I did look at some alternatives. And one that I failed to mention earlier was the Mustang Mach-E. Because if I had my way, I would have had two Mustangs in the driveway: the dinosaur, the dead dinosaur-powered one, and also the green one. And to be fair to it, it was a close-run competition. Actually, that was the top two. The Mach-E versus the Tesla. But the Tesla, for me, it was more like driving a computer. It was just a step change you got in the Mach-E, and it felt like it was designed just for someone who wanted a nice, simple driving experience. There was no real, wow factor that justified what was actually a steeper price. The Mach-E was actually more expensive than the Tesla in the end for me.
Okay.
So yeah, just couldn't justify that. But there was a few neat things. The Mach-E, for example, you could look at what your energy usage was. So how much energy have you used to power the wheels? How much have you used to power the heating? How much have you used mucking about with the touchscreen, for example? Tesla doesn't offer you that granularity. So there are some areas that some other manufacturers are ahead on.
Part of ownership is keeping the car maintained, especially given the option that you've got to lease it. Part of it, I imagine, is keeping it in relatively good working order. Have you come across, or can you share the servicing element of it, or if you basically can't do that yet because you've only driven, you've had it about a minute?
Yeah, so from what I can remember, it's 4 years warranty on it, and there's literally no servicing required. The only moving parts are the wheels. There's no engine, so you don't really need any consumables, oil. You don't need really any MOTs. So it'll be nice and easy. Come when 3 years are up, it should just be make sure all your fluids are topped up, your tires are legal, and that's you sorted. So there are some cost savings as well, especially on the maintenance side.
Do they talk about battery replacement at all?
They do. I think it's guaranteed for 7 years, 100,000 miles. And by guaranteed, from memory, it'll hold 80% of its charge. And to be honest, that's another reason why I've leased it, so that I don't have those problems. I could sit there and charge it to 100% every single night and potentially naff the battery, but I'm not bothered by that because I've only got it for the short to medium term, not long term. That'll be someone else's problem.
This is why we didn't share the number plate of your Tesla, because any prospective, the next guy round will know that he's got a naff one because you just absolutely wrecked it. But owning a Tesla can be quite a quite the issue, can't it, Stu?
I believe. Yeah, I wouldn't take your car to Finland anytime soon, Gary. I don't know if you've seen this.
Does look vaguely familiar, yes.
Yeah.
This is what happens if your car runs out of warranty and you don't fancy paying for it. Whoosh. Admittedly, that is a Model S, but this was a Finnish guy whose Tesla needed a new battery, and they wanted to charge him. What was it, Stu?
17,000 pounds, or obviously the Finnish rupees equivalent. What do they have in Finland?
I think it's euros.
The euro? Is it euros?
I think so.
Never been to Finland.
There you go. We should go on a trip to Finland. But there you have it.
What we should
not in my car, you're not.
This is Tesla frustration will out. You see, it's
I'm loving all the camera angles.
Oh.
He's obviously planned that down to the finest detail. That's brilliant.
This is an investment on his part, I think. Tom, can't remember his name. Tom something.
Katana.
Katana. There you go.
Katana.
So there you go. So if basically what I'm saying, Gary, is if you get to the end of your 3 years and you really fancy having some fun with it, we're willing to do this.
Yeah.
This is within the realms of some sort of reality. But
you guys provide the slow-mo HD cameras, and we'll see what we can do.
It'd be really cool. It's for content. Gary's a cool guy. He'll let us do it.
It'll be fine.
Yeah, I will stick it on Marketplace afterwards for spares and repairs.
Yeah, stick it back in that state, and you'll be all right.
Salvage a wheel.
I mean, I've bought cars in a worse state than that. In fairness. No, Gary, thank you very much for sharing your experience with us. I think your approach, your understanding, and obviously having gone through the process and now owning a Tesla 3, I think will help prospective buyers either make the choice to do it or alternatively not do it. You mentioned quite a few alternatives there, and that's the reality. It's now a much more open marketplace, isn't it, for EVs compared to maybe 5 or 6 years ago. So,
as a closing remark from me, one of my major concerns was the range anxiety and the charging. But living with it day to day, to be honest, I don't see what the fuss is about. For me, it's dead easy to charge. Luckily, I've got a driveway. That's one of the main considerations. If you lived in a flat, for example, you might struggle a little bit more. But yeah, part of me does go, why didn't I consider this sooner? It is quite easy to live with.
You and I have been good friends for years. I always thought kind of owning a Tesla was really one for the elite, the pompous, everything like that. But now knowing you've got one, it just shows anything's possible in this world. So you're an inspiration to us all, and I really do thank you for coming on and sharing your experience with researching your Tesla, dealing with Tesla, and now driving one. Thanks very much, buddy.
Not a problem. Thank you very much. Do squared.
Cheers, Gary.
Cheers, Gary.
Cheers.